Top 5 transfer portal names to watch. Sorry, I was a little delayed. I was trying to kill some bots.
I'm killing them for you.
Yeah. But these are names to watch in the transfer portal as it, look, it's after May 1st now, so anything that happens would be waiver. These are all guys before the pre-waiver deadline. Number 5, Dimitry Emmanuel, offensive lineman, Charlotte. Miami, Florida State. A lot of guys in on this guy. He's going to come in as a grad transfer. Florida State has the connection under Alex Atkins, their offensive coordinator, who was at Charlotte before he went to FSU and recruited Dimitry Emmanuel. But Miami is coming strong for this guy, and we know that their NIL collective at Miami is a little bit more advanced than most schools. But Dimitry Emmanuel is right now the most sought-after offensive lineman. He's one of those guys who's trying to move up a level from Charlotte into the Power 5.
Don't know much about him.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know much. I Googled him. There's not much because I think there's 2 M's there. But, obviously a good player, 3-year starter from what I see. And, I couldn't tell you much about Charlotte football. Did not watch a ton of it. But, it looks like a big dude. Looks like a big old offensive lineman, and certainly those guys are, at a premium these days. So no surprise that there's a big guy up front. You say he's a tackle or a?
He's an offensive lineman.
Okay,
so
big lineman that
I
everybody
think he'll probably play tackle.
Everybody could use it, more of. So yeah, good for him.
Yeah. Number 4, Zion Childress, defensive back, Texas State. These first 2 guys are ones people may not have heard of that much. We saw Zion Childress play against Baylor last year. His offers maybe not getting the kind of big time names, but Kansas, Missouri, names like that. A lot of Group of 5 names. So he is looking up to go level, and I think Missouri or Kansas might be where he's headed based on what I could find out. But a defensive back, someone who might jump up a level and help your favorite team. You never know.
Yeah, I vaguely remember him from last year, but don't know much about him. I mean, that's one thing about the transfer portal is, a lot of guys that we maybe weren't familiar with before that we're going to become far more familiar with. If you got the opportunity, good for these guys. Texas State's had their struggles, that's for sure. And, not fun for Spavital to have to deal with getting poached. But, that's why he's also gone to the transfer portal and just picking up, guys who are non-high school guys, basically to placate that. So I imagine that's probably going to continue for him. The more his better players get picked off. But, I vaguely remember him last year.
Number 3, Jermayne Lole, defensive tackle, Arizona State. This will be interesting. He's a big, huge body that can eat up space in the middle. He's taking his visits later in the summer, but this is one that will be sought after here in the next month because, again, he's one of the only guys who plays this position that's available right now in the transfer portal at the upper level of what's left.
By the way, Zion Childress, if you don't mind, against Baylor, 7 tackles, tackle for a loss, and also I think he had a quarterback hurry as well in that game. So
that game got dicey towards the end. Never really should have been, but it definitely got dicey there. So, yeah, his name does ring familiar, as I said. But, man, Arizona State, it's Arizona football in general. Not the best at the college level right now.
No.
And I'm very curious to see kind of how it plays out for the Sun Devils and that whole situation. But, big defensive tackles. I mean, Baylor was able to get theirs with Jackson Player earlier in the cycle, and the year before they got Apuika. And so I'd imagine there's a team out there that, definitely would like to bring a big old defensive tackle with P5 experience on board. So who are some of his suitors?
He's got
I thought I saw like USC and Oregon.
USC, Oregon, I think Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee's almost in on everybody.
I was going to say it seems like Missouri is too.
Yeah, Missouri and Tennessee almost in on everybody. They're recruiting almost straight out of the transfer portal right now. So
we have definitely reached the stage of the transfer portal, though, where like the diehard college football junkies are like, this is great. And everybody else is like, I don't know who the hell this dude is.
Yeah. Well, these next 2 I think people have heard of. Number 2, Jaylon Robinson, wide receiver, UCF. If he does not wind up at Tennessee, apparently he's not at Tennessee and Ole Miss for his decision, but I would think he's going to Tennessee to play with his old coach and Josh Heupel. But this is a really good player who went through some injuries last year. One was a guy I thought that maybe Baylor would try and kick the tires on, needing an experienced wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, but I think he's going to Tennessee.
He has visited Ole Miss, TCU, and Tennessee.
He was at Ole Miss like days after he announced his
Now he's going to Miami.
transfer.
He's going to go to Miami.
Of course he is. Yeah.
I mean, why would you
Let's
not
see
just
what they have to say, right?
Just take a trip to Miami. Like if you have 5 trips, why not one to Hawaii? Even if you're not going to go there. But he's going to make his decision sometime.
I think Hawaii has a rule.
Yeah, I was
May
going to say there's a
18th.
rule involving Hawaii official visits so that doesn't get abused. I forget what exactly the rule is, but I do recall that as well.
Yeah, I think they don't really have official visits like everybody else does.
Something like that. It's something to where they don't get taken advantage of for just free trips to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I can't remember what exactly the rules are, though. But, yeah, Jaylon Robinson, I mean, doing stuff with the Earl Campbell Award. He was a regular fixture, not so much last year, but prior to that, put up big numbers. And, last year obviously had some injuries that came into play. Still had respectable numbers, though. And he's a great player. I mean, I guess the question is if you have one, is just what's his health status and how much is he back from an injury? How much is he back from his injury, and is he up to full speed and all that, at least by the time the season rolls around? But, yeah, I thought Baylor might at least pursue him because he's from Texas originally. But I don't think that they ever – at least I didn't see really anything of substance as far as that goes. I saw him at Ole Miss days after, and then, kind of like y'all said, Tennessee and those same type of schools basically. So somebody's going to get a really good player so long as he's like his old self from just a couple years ago. But I enjoy watching him.
And number one is obvious. He's visiting Texas today, apparently eating Grayson Canes in his hotel room. Jordan Addison, the Biletnikoff winner from Pitt. He could have 50 official visits if he wanted. I mean, if they had let him, because there's not one single program in the country, I don't care who you are, that if you could get this guy on your roster, you wouldn't take him. Not one, including Ohio State, who's a wash in wide receivers. That's how good Jordan Addison is, and what a unique now NIL-born situation that this is. And he's the... and again, it's not surprising that when the Biletnikoff winner goes in the portal on April 27th or so, or whatever it was, that all of a sudden they start saying, hey, we need something down on paper about what these rules are.
Yeah, I mean, that was a squirrely situation, man. I mean, look, he was there. He was the Biletnikoff winner, and there was no reason to believe that he'd be going anywhere else. And all of a sudden, here comes NIL. And, all of a sudden, those USC rumors start popping up, and people are playing reckless with a lot of these rumors. But it does seem like there was some substance to that. Now, as far as the monetary figure and everything along those lines, we don't know about all that. But clearly USC is interested amongst pretty much everybody else that would think to stand a chance. And I'm fascinated about where he goes. I saw that picture in Austin of his hotel room or whatever. And, if they were to land him, they'd have a great wide receiver core. If they don't, they're still going to have a really good wide receiver core. I don't know if he pushes them from – being an 8 to a 10, but he definitely makes any team he's on better. So, if they could hook him up with Ewers and Whittington and, Hall from Alabama and Worthy and, Billingsley from Alabama and their running back from Alabama and Bijan and all that, that could work out well. They still need an offensive lineman more than they need a receiver, but you'd take him.
I would, if I were Texas, be more interested in number 5 on this list than number 1 in particular because – you need all the depth you can have.
All right, let me ask you this. Former Texas receiver Joshua Moore, who was at Texas, then was in the transfer portal, appeared committed to Texas Tech, then changed his mind, went to SMU, is now not going to enroll at SMU, and I got a feeling he might end up back in Lubbock. Not back in Lubbock, but he might end up in Lubbock.
Well,
which is where he was originally committed to after Texas.
That's cool for them, I guess. I'd have a few questions first before just saying, come on down. I mean, why are you in the transfer portal and having committed to 2 different schools and now you're not at either one of those, even if you come back around to one of them? That's weird, and I'm curious to know what happened with him and SMU over the last couple of weeks to change that. I don't know. That's very interesting, but kind of also a little bit of a red flag in a way, too. So I'll be curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, Jaylon Robinson was very productive, isn't he? He's a very good player. Man, the kid from UCF, absolutely.
Well, and look, if it winds up coming out to NIL, which I'm sure at least partially it will, and it should because you got to make your money while you can, Tennessee has shown that they've got some boosters that reportedly have some deep pockets and are tired of losing.
He had 50. Robinson, he was hurt last year. 55 catches for 1,000 yards, basically 2 years ago. So that's going to be a big pickup for Ole Miss, Tennessee, TCU, or whoever.
Yeah,
Miami.
Him and another Texas dude, and Ryan O'Keefe, who's a very good player. But yeah, they were really lighting it up a couple years back, and then obviously, UCF a little bit down last year, and Robinson gets hurt, so it wasn't quite the way O'Keefe was still producing. But Robinson's a good player. He'll be great for whoever.
Yeah, he and Dylan Gabriel went down essentially right at the same kind of, couple of weeks, and then that was kind of it for that. So,
All right, congratulations to Eric Mateos and company. He